Hey everybody, KC here. So we talk a lot here on Morning Newsbeat about why employees matter and how great employees can really make the difference in an organization. There was a really interesting example of this and completely unexpected that I found in an op-ed piece that ran a couple of days ago in the New York Times. It was written by a guy named Peter Rothplatz. And let me just quote some of it to you. It starts out with, "It was an annual tradition. Every Thanksgiving, I would fly down to Florida before the rest of the family. My grandfather would pick me up at the airport. On one particular trip, I was 14, maybe 15, and in ways I could not name, it was becoming apparent that I was not like most of the boys I grew up with." Peter was realizing that he was gay. "My grandfather pulled off a sun-bleached stretch of highway to take me someplace new. Hooters. Our waitress was a tall, brassy blonde, a caricature of the caricature that is a Hooters waitress. She was in her late 20s with a deep yet indistinct Southern accent, and I could tell she clocked me almost immediately. Who knows if it was how I held myself or how my voice quivered or how my eyes slid away from hers. But later in the meal, when my grandfather went to the restroom, she slipped into the booth across from me and leaned in close. 'You're perfect just the way you are, kid,' she said, or something near enough to it, her voice low, kind, and certain." And there was news the other day that the company that owns Hooters is considering bankruptcy. So this particular writer, Peter Rothplatz, went on social media and talked about this experience. And the feedback he got was fascinating. There was a lot of apparently gay men out there who were taken to Hooters by their grandfathers or their fathers, hoping that if maybe my kid won't be gay if he spends some time with a Hooters waitress. It didn't work out that way because things don't work out that way. But all these boys ended up having these fascinating interactions with Hooters waitresses who were incredibly sensitive to who they were and what they were. One of the things that he writes is, "Pop culture from Saturday Night Live to American Dad to Joe Rogan presents the Hooters waitress as a vacant-eye succubus. She's seen as a not-quite stripper in possession of little more than a push-up bra and a pitcher of Coors. To many, she's a punchline or a harlot. To the average patron, she's a pin-up consumerist fantasy. In my experience, and in the experiences of many people I spoke with, all of these perceptions are slanders as lazy as they are persistent. The fact is, based on this research that this writer did, Hooters was a safe space for gay boys because the waitresses cared. The waitresses paid attention to them in a different kind of way. The waitresses got them." And that's really interesting to me. The idea that and he's absolutely right. We all caricature Hooters waitresses. But the notion that they understood these kids and was able to give them a little bit of understanding, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of empathy is extraordinary. And it's a great example, I think, of how great employees can totally make the difference in the way a business operates and in the lives of customers. It's a really interesting thing to consider. Again, he writes, he actually went back to visit that Hooters at one point. It's a different place now than it was then. But he writes, "I found myself thinking about the irony of the Hooters mascot, that wide-eyed owl. The bird's name is a juvenile jab, a wink to the mammary fixation that fuels the franchise. Yet in Greek myth, the owl is a symbol of divine knowledge and reason. How fitting that it should preside over a place where the waitresses, far from being empty vessels of titillation, embody a savvy the oglers and mockers fail to appreciate. The Hooters owl, in its dual role as racy pun and all-knowing observer, mirrors the waitresses themselves. It's a cosmic joke, really, that the bird should roost where wisdom is the last thing expected, but the first thing served." Great piece pointing out how important great employees are. Totally unexpected, as I said. Anyway, that's what's on my mind. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.